Kayak polo is probably a sport you've never heard of, but it is managed underneath National Olympic committees, and there's a World Cup every 2 years. The sport consists of aspects of kayaking, water polo, and basketball. This particular sport intrigues me due to the fact that my Aunt Molly Cummings happens to be a former member and captain of Team USA. I chose to interview my Aunt Molly to learn more about kayak polo and to talk about her feelings on religious aspects of the sport.
In Europe, it's been in North America, it's been, I believe, in Australia, where it's been hosted. And it's very traditional that before each game, the captains go up and you exchange gifts for every member of the team. So, and you give gifts that represent your country. And, I still have some of these gifts. Like, it's a really sweet gesture, and it's a way to connect with those people right before you compete with them. And it just reminds you that they're human. It goes beyond the however many dollars or euros it costs, because it's more about the thought, and you're giving something about representing your culture, that they might not be aware of your culture. And it's a way to educate and to welcome and to warm what are essentially foreigners.
Yeah.
And you might not speak their language. It's very common that the two competing teams do not speak the same language, and yet you're playing this game. So it's a nice gesture of goodwill before you go into combat.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like the going into combat thing, did you ever play like the New Zealand team?
Yes, I have played the New Zealand team.
Did they do like this thing called the haka?
They do. The women do it a little differently than the men.
Yeah.
But yes, they are very, they definitely get super psyched up. They do a lot of chanting. They do a lot of revving themselves up. And so when you're in kayaks, they hit the front of their kayak as like a war drum. So yeah, they're pretty intimidating.
Yeah, is like the sport originated or is like kind of seen as like sacred, or like the hierophany, or like a sacred space?
I think all players of kayak polo have a real reverence for water. And when people, to play that game at a high level of competition, you have to do a lot of training, and a lot of the training has to be done individually, because you have to be in good enough shape in your kayak to play nonstop for 2 10-minute halves where it's just complete, it's crazy. And so you have to do a lot of solo training where you're doing cardio and boat work. And I think that can be a sacred space. One of the things that seems similar between my kayak polo experience and religion is that when you go to these big competitions, you will spend weeks, abstaining from alcohol and being incredibly controlled with your diet and everything. And then at the end of the competition, there's this giant release and celebration and party. So it's a little bit like, the 40 days of Lent, so to speak.
Yeah.
With a big celebration at the end. Well, every World Cup tournament has an opening ceremonies, and it's beautiful. But there's a big one.
U.S. flag or something.
Yeah, there was a big one down for the World Cup when we went to Cali, Colombia, and there were all these fireworks, and Colombia put on all the dancing and the culture, and it was very neat. And my very first opening ceremonies was in Edmonton, Canada, and they did a lot on the Native American culture up there.